Don't say anything now. Recording in progress. Ready anytime. All right. I'd like to call to order the 5:30 p.m. workshop. Today is Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022. We don't do a roll call, do we?
We don't need to.
Okay, good. That's good. We'll check that off the list. First item on the agenda is DCSO update. Lieutenant Davis. Haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? Yes. Good to see you at the celebration yesterday. That was fun.
Yeah,
glad you were there.
Good. I don't have a whole lot to report. Made it through rodeo with no issues here in town.
Because of the rain, or just?
I think that helped. It was very busy in town as far as volume of people, but it didn't turn into calls for service. So we were hopeful and happy about that. Been in contact with ODOT. The 20-mile-an-hour sign, I drove by it. They said it was installed today. They put a larger sign up. It looked like it was. It wasn't significantly bigger. I was hoping for a much bigger sign, but it is a bigger sign, and they were responsive to our request, which within basically 2 weeks, a week and a half, whatever it was. So I was happy to see that. And then met with the Quilt Show this last week, just talking about kind of our role in that and how we'll continue to have crossing guards set up at 3 intersections on Cascade to help get people across safely, but also keep traffic flowing. So that's coming up here July 9th. So, and talked about Hood Avenue being closed and how that will, basically the volunteers will be managing some of the crossing on Hood Street at Elm and a couple other places, but we'll take care of Cascade.
So Hood won't be closed to traffic?
It will be close to traffic, but there's still going to be pedestrian traffic that they're going to have. Elm will still be open. So they'll still have to be helping people get across Elm Street as that continues to flow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
About closing down Hood and Cascade being really busy, are we going to do any alternate route signs or anything like that at the 2 main intersections to get around? Yeah, the Quilt Show is working with Public Works to do all the signage and have all the signs that they need out. So yeah, it'll be clearly posted. ODOT will have some signs out on the highway, event ahead things. I know Paul knows. I guess I should have waited on that one. Sorry about that. Stealing your thunder there. Sorry. So, everybody got the packet last week, right? So things are looking good. More citations this year than last year, I noticed, just anecdotally a little more, but it's just part of volume, right? Yeah. Yeah, and just having everybody in place, as far as our team and getting out there. And it ebbs and flows. Sometimes some months we're working more on criminal cases and doing follow-up and interviews, and then more other months we have more free time to go out and work on traffic. So. All right. Is there anything you need from us? No, we're doing great. All right. No complaints.
Can I just ask about National Night Out? And
yep. August 2nd.
Kind of bizarre that August 2nd is 6 weeks out.
Yes.
Not too far out. So in terms of planning and promotion, y'all are going to be taking the lead on that?
Yeah, we talked about getting that into the Nugget a couple weeks prior to.
Great.
And then I was getting the flyer put out to the chamber as well. So they were going to put that out in there through their membership. I did meet with them. I can't remember if we talked about that last month or not, but I had met with the chamber. Boy, it seems like 3 weeks ago. But I had one of their breakfast meetings, and so met with the chamber as well. And we talked about that, and they were offering to promote the event. So yeah, that'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. Village Green. I'll send a flyer when I have it all put together, and we'll kind of do the same thing we did last year. We'll have some other emergency vehicles there, probably one of our canines, some search and rescue folks, and then most of our sisters crew will be there, just meeting and greeting people. So.
How about the sheriff?
I'll invite him. We'll see how. He's a busy man, but I will see.
Are we having a shredding event locally?
That one I think is either in August or September. We only get one per year, and I believe it's in the fall. I will send an email out about that.
I have just one last comment. we have a list of homeowner associations that may or may not be up to speed. Would that help you get your word out about National Nights?
That would be
Night Out?
great. Yeah.
We do. Planning Department. That's Scott, there you go.
Okay. Scott has it? Okay, I'll get with him. I know we had a request from Pine Meadow to do a presentation that we'll be doing here in the next couple of weeks. So we're going to be hitting a lot of our HOAs. We're trying to. So whoever wants us to go, we'll go talk to them. So.
Fantastic. Anybody else have anything? Okay, thank you, Lieutenant Davis, appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you next time. All right. Item number 2, review organizational documents for destination management nonprofit. City Manager, Miles.
Yeah, good evening, council. So there's a number of documents in your packet for discussion tonight and some agenda items for your consideration and approval during the regular meeting later. Wanted to start with the timeline, just to sort of orient where we're at, where we've been, where we're at, and where we're going. And then I'll pass it to Councilor Conley to talk a little bit about some of the meetings that she and staff and the ad hoc advisory group have been participating in over the last few months, and sort of where we're at heading into next month with that group. So, this process started in earnest back during council goal setting at the beginning of 2022, when you all adopted the goal to finalize creation of a destination management nonprofit organization and enter an inaugural contract for tourism promotion, development, and sustainability. That was formalized to be accomplished in fiscal year 22-23 that starts July 1. Obviously, there's a lot of groundwork to get going, thinking about the budget and thinking about setting up those steps to make that goal a reality at some point in 22 and ultimately in 23. And before that, this really started also with Kristen Dahl and Cross Current Collective back in the spring and summer of 21, looking at what destination management is and sort of understanding where we were as a destination, over decades of work and promotion and development, but also, with this transition of the pandemic and actually increased tourism and population growth, and how do we balance all those things? So it's been, years in the making in terms of conversation and research and preparing for where we are now. And then with the timeline, we're essentially right on track as it relates to working behind the scenes in spring to put ourselves in the position tonight for you all to approve the articles of incorporation for a new nonprofit to serve as the destination management organization for Sisters, and to empower the first board of that organization to hold their first official meeting next month and take the torch in earnest to begin preparing for recruitment of an executive director and their use of transient lodging tax dollars in October, definitely November, after the sunset of the contract extension with the Chamber of Commerce for tourism services. So we're right on track with this timeline. Still quite a bit of work to be done, but a lot that's gotten done in the last 6 months and last few months for sure. So I'm not going to dive into the articles of incorporation or the bylaws or the DMO talking points right now. Just want to pass it to Councilor Conley to talk just a little bit high level about her experience as a council member, helping to shape this. And then I think we'll open it up to questions on any of the topics and next steps.
No pressure.
I know, I thought last night was bad. If you all think back to a year and a half ago and 6 months ago, when we were having this discussion up here and you're all, hurry up, let's get this DMO up and running, hurry up. I can honestly say that is where our ad hoc committee is now. They're to the stage where, hurry up, let's go through the process, let's hire an executive director, let's get the board up and running. And there's a lot of excitement with the ad hoc committee So much so that one of the members arranged a Zoom meeting for the ad hoc committee to meet with some members of the Visit McMinnville board. So board to board, we can start educating ourselves about what a DMO is, benefits, the pitfalls, things to watch out for, things that we might not have thought about. Also, I believe, and there are a couple members here who I'll ask to speak maybe a little bit later, but a lot of discussion happened between the board members, the 5 people, talking about the articles of incorporation and what the job description should be and what the priorities are. So there's already a great deal of ownership and personal pride and understanding about what a DMO could be and should be and hopefully will be. And I'm just really happy with the progress that we've made. And I'm excited about what will happen and transpire in the next 6 months when this organization is up and running and does their goal setting and is off and running.
All I'd add to that is that, upon approval tonight, the city, potentially city attorney, but we will file the articles of incorporation with the state. The board itself, meeting next month, will need to adopt the bylaws themselves for those to be formal. And then we'll continue to provide updates on a monthly basis as it relates to their next steps or our next set steps with the recruitment process, because ultimately that will be when they're able to spread their wings and fully fly, is when they have paid staff to be able to support them. That was one of the points of emphasis for the prospective initial founding board members, is that they're not going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting. They're busy tourism professionals. We're right in the middle of busy tourism season, so we have to be mindful of that. So staff will continue to support that process over the next few months until the executive director is on board in the fall at some point.
Okay, questions?
Corey answered all mine in the last 30 seconds.
Where are we at with the rare person getting one, or do we know yet?
Good question. I thought we'd provided an update, but I probably maybe failed to do that. So we were not selected to move forward. Unfortunately, you could look at it both ways, but I think that they felt that at the status of needing to secure someone, a rare placement, pretty much at this point of the summer, for them to be starting a couple of months from now, at the end of August, that in this organization not be up and running. I think they felt a little uneasy about that. And so if anything, what we think it probably means is that we'll be even better positioned for next year, and it might even make more sense for that organization to pursue that as a very cost-effective way to bring in some hands and help and creative enthusiasm, as experienced with Emmy firsthand. But they had record number of host applicants, organizations that wanted rares, and they were seeing sort of not a significant, but a little bit of a decline in potential rare applicants. So yeah, unfortunately that didn't pan out.
And Corey, for the benefit of some folks here who maybe don't know what rare is.
Sure. Yeah. So that's the Resource Assistance for Rural Environments program through University of Oregon that places AmeriCorps members for 11 months with usually nonprofit or local government entities to provide service projects.
And Emmy was a rare?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
And are we assuming that that because there are so many jobs available now that there probably aren't as many kids that go into the AmeriCorps?
I wouldn't draw that conclusion.
Not necessarily.
I think it's a mixed bag of things. Yeah, I think it ebbs and flows a little bit, but it's a really popular program overall. Yeah.
And what is the timing of putting together a job description? Has the board already started taking that on, their enthusiasm?
Yeah, the board looked at job descriptions last Thursday. Have not finalized it, but are on the way of lining up the hiring process. Yeah, like I said, they're raring to go.
I have a question. This is just your general thought. What's your confidence level about the whole thing? I mean, is it like 7 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10? I hate to put you on the spot. You don't really have to. You feel pretty good about it though, right?
I do. But long-term, I believe it will be, that new math, 12 out of 10.
B++?
Yeah, B++, Joe. I think it will work very well. I think we'll have a good commitment from the volunteers and the committee. I think they'll look at the livability issue along with the tourism and the accountability. And I think we'll have a really good product long-term. Short-term, I give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Just because, pitfalls, start and stop, getting someone hired right away, and the time that will take to get it up and running is the only slowdown hindrance I see. But I think this board and whomever we hire will start work right away and have a fabulous 6 months, 1 year master plan. We haven't talked about that yet directly, is alluded to in the job description. I think we'll have a very successful program.
It's awesome to hear.
I'd agree with.
Benchmarks built in.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's definitely going to be a bit of a learning curve, new relationships, having some of those kind of long range planning conversations that, we do all the time, right? It's like we're in the water all the time with comprehensive plan and, master plans and housing plans and so on and so forth. But in terms of doing that at a community-wide scale with tourism, thinking about marketing, development, sustainability, that Four Seasons, livability as well. I mean, that's going to take time to establish that. So obviously they'll need to be building relationships, right out the gates, identifying some low-hanging fruit, some action items, and keeping sort of status quo of where we're at with that marketing piece, but also laying groundwork for those more in-depth planning efforts, maybe in year 2 kind of a thing. So agreed, but a lot of work in the future for sure. And then the only other part I'd add as it relates to the recruiting process is that the hope there is that it'll be a very inclusive process. Think kind of akin to city manager recruitment, where there's opportunities for stakeholders, business community members, et cetera, to be able to potentially weigh in, towards the end of the process after a lot of work has gone into hopefully identifying a really strong pool of candidates and whittling it down a little bit. So TBD on all that. We'll have a lot more information on that by the end of July is really the goal over the next 5 weeks, but feel like we're in a good position. And we'll go from there.
Awesome. I'm excited as well, and I'm pretty sure that the rest of the counselors are looking forward to it. So.
I noticed that the term for the board members is 2 years, not to exceed 6 years. Is there a reason why it has a term limit?
Well, I mean, I think that first off, the bylaws will be able to be changed by the board itself. So those will be, subject to revisions down the road accordingly.
Sure.
And I mean, I think there's a lot of ways you could slice it. And I think that it felt like that was probably a good way to get some continuity and longevity with some members, but also to make sure that you're not having members that are entrenched for, a decade or whatnot. So there's no perfect way to do that, but there wasn't a rock solid rhyme or reason in terms of exactly those parameters.
The ad hoc committee did talk about that.
Yeah.
And honestly, choosing the terms of 1, 2, and 3 year terms that you're talking about, not to exceed 6 years. The city council representative is a 1 year term, and we drew papers to see who had the 2 and 3 year terms.
Well thought out.
It was.
Well, and
Thank you.
I tease.
And I would say when I read over quite carefully the draft document that was submitted as part of the packet, I saw that, and to me, it looked to me like standard sort of fare for organizations that you want to be relatively nimble to bring in new talent in, as well as to have talent stay on. And I agree with Corey, it was very clear that once we sever the strings with the city in terms of the oversight component, other than the dollars, this group has the ability to modify the bylaws if they think that there's a need to do so. I had no problem with what was in there. It looked very good to me. Looked like the lawyers have been over it about 14 times, and then a 15th time just for good measure.
I think that sort of brought to the surface an important point, which is that founding board can choose, when the time's right, to expand the board as well. That's a really important component of this. I don't think there's any intention of the board to necessarily stay at 5. Will it be 7? Will it be 9? TBD. But that's some flexibility that the organization has moving forward as well.
All right, anything else?
That'll look good.
Exciting stuff, good things.
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to finish up with?
No, I don't want to be awkward. We didn't necessarily coordinate for anyone to speak, but also, want to give the opportunity without making it feel like a pressure position. So I don't know if I'm approaching that appropriately or not.
We have 2 members of the ad hoc committee who are in the audience. If they would like to take a few seconds, raise your hand or say anything, you're more than welcome.
Or you can hide under your chair.
Yeah, otherwise no pressure. Yeah.
Joe,
Joe is about to. Oh, Joe.
Not tonight.
His name's on there.
Councilors and mayor and councilors. My name is Greg Willits. Built and designed Five Pine Lodge Shibuya Spa campus with my parents, and got suckered into running it. Just kidding, I wanted to. And I would quickly say, to support what's going on here with what occurred and where the direction was necessary to move forward. If Corey and Nancy had come to me and said, we're going to start a DMO that stands for Destination Marketing Organization, I probably would have said, I've already done that, or I've been involved in that, and it's a great idea. But as a resident of this area, as somebody who's vested in this community, gives back and takes a lot, goes to the folk festival and enjoys the trails. The destination management really sings to me and is a valuable piece for this town. It says we're going to market to the right people who appreciate the right town on the right days with the right smoke level or right atmospheric pressure. And it's a more holistic approach to moving people to destinations that are low impact, high impact, giving them parameters on how to enjoy those areas. I think we all enjoyed going during COVID, we all enjoyed going in knowing the rules for what was expected of us. It was very disconcerting when we went in, we didn't know if we were supposed to mask or not mask or what was appropriate. And I think this organization can put some parameters on the marketing to get the right people in this town and not overuse spots. And I'm a long-winded guy, so I could tell more stories. But do you have questions for me? And I'm just a single member of 4 now, but I think represent a pretty dynamic group from varied perspectives, all community members, all community vested individuals.
So now that you're up here, I do have a question.
Okay.
And it's for a different hat that you wear, but I think has a lot of parallels here and with this conversation, which is the Oregon Tourism Commission.
Yeah.
So, travel Oregon and tourism dollars, I don't know the figures of how many hundreds of millions or billions of dollars the tourism industry is in Oregon. It's big.
Mm-hmm.
But would you say that this, to some extent, paradigm shift and elevation and coordination of these values is something that you see generally the state is wanting to embrace, and there may be opportunities to move here? Are we a little on the cutting edge? Just can you shed a little light on that?
we're appropriately timed for what's going on in the world, specifically Oregon. Oregon did an amazing job grabbing 0.3% of tourists that moved around in the US, and we took them from other locations and planted them in Oregon through our Seven Wonders camp. This is my story. That is pretty great. I love it because I benefited from their marketing, and yet Smith Rock suffered from their marketing. They suffered from their lack of management. Crater Lake suffered from their marketing, suffered from their lack of management. So when they got those numbers, they reported the extra $1 billion of revenue generated, and then recognized they were just trampling these iconic spots in Oregon. Greg Willits, business finance guy, loved seeing people come through, interacting with them and hearing, we came from Crater Lake, we're going to Smith Rock, and then we're going to Hood River Gorge. I could report to Travel Oregon before I was a commissioner, you guys are doing an amazing job for my business. As I rock climb out of Smith Rock, I started feeling you're doing a terrible job, disservice to this area, to the parking along the side, to the homeowners that lived in there. So that's my long-winded side. They transitioned their messaging from Seven Wonders to great spots in Oregon. And as they saw a heat map of overconsumption, wrong consumption, undereducated consumption, they started dispersing that marketing. They're quite nimble with it. And I would look forward to being nimble as well in our small community. We have a lot of assets. I will sneak the right person out and share with them our little pioneer cemetery and my secret spots for fly fishing to the right person on White's Creek, which, sorry, Paul. Sorry.
You have no more
to the
pull than
right
anybody
people,
else.
to the right people, the right guests that get it and would share that with me or us. Anyway, long-winded. Did that spur any other?
No, that's,
I think you did an excellent job of addressing some of the livability things that were in this, which I was very happy to see. I know that I've had my ear bent by a few people in town of why do you need to have more tourists here? There's already too many. And I think that the livability component and making sure that people who come here really kind of respect the town and its values, that's something that in the long run will benefit all of us, especially your story is a very good example of that. I've been to Smith Rock when you can't get within 1,000 miles of it, let alone feet, so.
And hopefully we're not parking on the side in the ditch, which I've pulled people out of before and shortened my climbing time, so.
Based upon what Greg said and Gary's comment on the Articles of Incorporation 5.2, the primary purpose, that was probably the longest discussion the group had last week because it is very key to our success and getting the message out to the community about what we value as a destination management organization. So I was really happy with the discussion that we had on that item.
And I was happy to see it.
Yes.
And I've spent many years working for Park Service, Forest Service, on that end of tourism, and I have intimate knowledge of the agencies and what they can and can't do and what they can and can't handle. So that's the thing I'm really excited about is the opportunity for the community to work with, the state, work with, the Forest Service, these partners that are unbelievably critical to our lifestyle and our tourism success to make sure that, we have a strong partnership so that, and good lines of communication, because there's things they can't do. There's things they do not have money for, especially on the recreation side, unfortunately. So, having an organization that can build a really strong bond with these other entities and be a partner instead of a suck, that's what I'm excited about. and I think that's what everybody wants, is we want to maintain the livability, we want people to enjoy the community, or we won't want everything trampled. I just think there's a lot of opportunity there to have some great conversations and future planning with them and go from there. So that's what I'm excited about.
Two other quick ones. I have to apologize to Councilor Connolly and to Corey and to Carrie. I was super cranky in this process because I've done it before, and I've worked with all sorts of aspects of tourism, and I was reluctant to sign up for something else, to tell my wife I was signing up for something else. So it has to be good. And my second one rolls into that. When we're talking funds, the funds are adequate today to accomplish those things, but quickly with an executive director with a website that is naturally moving those people around responsibly and educating, I do not request any extra funds, but the funds have to be fairly stable so we can maintain doing good things. The first year is going to be difficult. It's not going to be difficult. It's going to be fun. It's going to be energizing, but we want a longer horizon for this product, and to prove to the town and engage with Forest Service and others. That's part of that piece as well. Is these funds are substantially more than Chamber was getting. I look forward to doing great things with them, but please, as you deliberate on this or sign this, look longer term with these dollars so that a regime change doesn't shift the direction. Our efforts aren't just for a year. It would be a lot of effort to have it go away in a year's time or shifted in a different direction. It will take time to get some traction with this and engaging in the community as well. So that was part of my being cranky in meetings. Sorry.
You weren't cranky, you were excited cranky maybe, and it's a 3-year contract?
Well, so
commitment?
this has been productive because we're playing volleyball and we're adding layers, good layers of information to where we're at and where we're going. So after council takes action tonight, and empowers the board and nonprofit to really get going on recruitment, again, with some assistance from the city, the next step for staff and council will be discussing and putting together the framework for a multi-year tourism services contract that we expect to bring to you all probably in, I think maybe in draft form in August. Certainly approval in September would kind of be the general timeline. So yeah, there's plenty of work to be done on that as well. And that'll be the next sort of touch point, that you all in your current capacity and future councils will need to be mindful of, piggybacking off what Greg mentioned. So if there's any other questions that come up between now and the regular session, we will be revisiting this topic with a couple agenda items on the regular agenda. So, can ask them then. And then otherwise, I think that there's going to be some communication channels that get formed, pretty soon, starting next month and ultimately continuing on through summer and into the fall. So thank you.
Krista, did you have anything you wanted to add? Sorry, Mayor.
No, it's fine.
She's ad hoc also.
Did you want to speak at all? You don't have to. Don't feel like you have to. Maybe introduce yourself for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Krista Monroe. I moved to Sisters almost exactly 3 years ago to take the position of executive director with the Folk Festival. And I spent 20 years in a similarly sized town in Colorado, Pagosa Springs, and served on a tourism committee there. We oversaw lodging tax. So I have a lot of marketing experience. I'm super excited to be a part of this, and I share Greg's enthusiasm. I think their ad hoc committee members are just They all bring something really unique to the table. I think everyone on that committee are longtime residents of the community, and so I'm hopeful that by only being a short timer, I bring a different perspective onto the committee. And yeah, so I appreciate the support and happy to answer any questions.
We're much nicer than Eugene, aren't we?
Oh, yes, yes, yeah. It was really nice to come back to a small town, yeah. And I'm not as long-winded as Greg, so. We'll let him be the spokesperson.
Well, thank you for being willing, to be part of this. And the one thing I'll say, and I was gonna say it a little later, as the mayor and councilors, if you need rah-rah people, we're there. I mean, we'll be there for you. Even if we're not on the board or not as involved as you think we are, we're there to be with you. So if you need somebody just to hold a sign or something, to shake a hand, let me know.
Perfect. All right.
Or
That
sign a
sounds
check, no, just kidding.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Good job, everybody, thank you. I'm gonna move on. We have another item on the agenda, update on the county city coordinated office on houselessness. Corey?
Yeah, so Counselor Blum and I have been spending some extra time together, which I've really enjoyed over the last few months, preparing for the creation of the Joint Office on Houselessness, which was a product of House Bill 4123 that was passed at the beginning of 2022 in the short legislative session that provided about $1 million to a dozen pilot programs across the state, partnerships between counties and cities in different regions to improve and expand coordination for houselessness services. So I want to pass it to Councilor Blum to speak a little bit about the first board meeting last Friday. And then we have the draft IGA that essentially mirrors the House bill to memorialize the different obligations from the different jurisdictions to get the board and organization up and running. And then we can just speak and answer any other questions. We kind of have maybe as many questions as answers at this point, but nonetheless, we're happy to do what we can.
Yeah, we had a first meeting on Friday, and it was an interesting group of folks that came in to talk and hear what we had to say. It's hard to get a sense of how we will work together, but because we don't know each other all that well and we don't know exactly where each is coming from, but we had the opportunity to introduce ourselves, talk about what our homeless situation is, talk about what we've tried to do about it, if anything, and what our hopes were for this new project. And to some degree, our hopes were pretty much the same, really, coming maybe from different angles of need and use and what we've done and haven't done, but everybody was kind of looking for the same thing. And the legislation is very specific about what we can spend the money on. So it's not like as if, well, we see something that needs to be done and we can throw some money on it. We can't. This is just a collaboration of an organization of assets and outreach and stuff that's already here. And then look at where the deficiencies are, where we don't have adequate, and how we can speak with one voice and try and get those areas filled that we find. And it's, as everybody points out every time, it's going to be data driven. I've said, benchmarks, data. I have to see it. I don't want to just hear anecdotes. Let's get real. We have to get down into the statistics. And by having an executive director, it kind of reminds me of the DMO, really. We're at a high level going to look for someone who can fill this position, which is going to spearhead the coordination effort, and that's going to be a remarkable person, going to have to be a remarkable person. There are the people that are on the board now. Patty Adair is going to be the chair. Megan Perkins from the Bend City Council, who has been working on this issue and was working on promoting the legislation to have this collaboration, was very much interested in being the chair as well. But we decided on Patty as more of an overall view to make sure everybody's encompassed, but Megan is going to be the vice chair. The staff is going to be an executive director, which we are going to, let's see, it's like within tomorrow or something, we're going out with the RFP, and we'll be looking at the candidates, you know, just within a month or so, and hopefully hired within a couple of months. So we're getting on it. Everybody's excited and wants to get going. Originally, the plans were sort of, and you've all seen some information about it, were gathered together from information through the county and in the city of Bend mostly. They got together and did the heavy lifting and the research behind how this could be set up and how, you know, and put drafts in, and we all got to kind of look at the drafts. And I'm sure the city managers had a lot of input on what they thought was going to work well or wasn't going to work out well. Right now, it's really only funded for 2 years. And so that's part of the process that we'll look at the first couple of years and see whether this is something that is going to be of benefit to Sisters. At this point, I don't know. We'll see. I'm like, you know, a lot of people in this situation that see lots of money being spent on projects and things and ideas. And at the end of the day, are there any fewer houseless people than there were when you started? And I'm real sick of that. And I'm, you know, hoping that this is a collaboration of this nature will help in that process, because you know, we need to be doing something that works, something that changes the lives of people, gives people opportunities that they will grasp at. I know that everybody that's houseless is not looking for us to come out and save them, but there are some people who would really appreciate some help. And so hopefully we will be able to find that help for them. The issue, a kind of concern I had with the dynamics of how it was going to be organized is that the executive director was going to be an employee of the county. And supervisory task to the county administrator, Nick Lelak. He was there at the meeting that on Friday. And so I asked him about that. I said, well, I'm thinking about Patty Adair, county commissioner, is your boss, and you're going to be the boss of the executive director. So what if, as a county representative on this board, she has some pressure on you to have some pressure on the executive director that may or may not be what the entire board wants? And is that chain of command, would it be more appropriate to have somebody else be the chair of the board because of that? And he said that he did not see that as a problem. I guess he says, well, I'm sort of in that position in a number of ways already. He's already the boss of the 911 director, because there are any number of board members and they all can't be the boss of the 911 director. And he says, so I understand this role and the dynamic. And he said, but you don't need to worry about that. I would not go around you all, the rest of the members of the board, because, you know, my boss was telling me something different. He says, I work for all of the county commissioners. So we did end up then going with Patty for the chair, and she was willing to do it, you know. It's gonna be an undertaking, I think. Just the literature that I've gotten sent to me, it's amazing how much federal new money is coming down the aisle for the houseless, and once again, you want to be prepared to take advantage of any new funding that comes along, but at the same time, you don't. It's been pointed out that a lot of the programs that are out there now are limited in their scope and who they can help because the financing that they get limits what they can do with that financing. So it's like a lot of the things that we do. We can only spend it for this, not for this. So this over there, we have to get rid of these people. We have to find some other way to deal with this. But the programs follow the money. And not necessarily the way the community wants it. That's just the way it is. So I think that's one of the issues to tackle, is how to, hopefully this organization will have some clout in that we're speaking with one voice for a multitude of organizations and groups, and therefore can lobby for the funding that we need that isn't there. And if there's too many eggs in this basket, you know, to spread the eggs around for sure. We're gonna probably meet every month for a little while, but then there's gonna be a sub-advisory group that's going to have all the providers that wanna be involved, and they're going to be doing more of the day-to-day, you know, hands-on kind of stuff as opposed to us as the board. And then they're gonna shuffle us off to maybe quarterly after that, they think. But we really don't know until it turns out. It looks like the executive director and staff, whatever staff is needed, will be probably in the motel that the city of Bend purchased that's on Franklin, and that they're gonna rehab and whatnot. So the city of Bend is willing to pay for that location for the person to be established. It seems like a good place, centrally located place and whatnot. But it will be interesting, our discussion on who should be on the advisory board, because I think so far the list of people have sort of been all involved in the homeless or houseless community. And I think that there needs to be people on there that are like from the chambers and that represent the business community and how, you know, they perceive what needs to be done to help the houseless, in addition to the service providers. So it'll be an interesting trip, and so hopefully I'll have good things to report. I'm going to go in with a positive attitude, and so hopefully we can get something done. Any questions?
I think you did a good job of covering it and reading over the House bill. It's a pretty broad paintbrush that they're working with in terms of the agencies and groups that they expect these coordinated response systems to be working with. The list is about half of the text of the thing.
I know, you kind of wonder how that large of a group can get anything done.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be.
Subgroups possibly that represent.
It may be, I think that almost has to be, that's sort of a tree. And I was not surprised, but I did notice that the section 1, which is all the legislative aspects of what the money is supposed to do, is repealed as of January 2, 2025. So somewhere in 2024, we may see another round of legislative action or something intended either to move this forward and get it going somewhere. But it also means that by that time period, they're expecting that Deschutes County and other counties that are receiving these funds will have something up in place running, and that we as agencies will be funding that somehow.
That's exactly right.
Pretty clear to me from what it says in the bill.
at least assisting
Yeah.
in some form of ratio of population.
Oh, yeah, don't,
Not
you and I are on the
four
same
ways.
page there, Mr. Mayor, but it's really pretty clear that right now, the intent of the legislature was to wash their hands of it on January 2, 2025.
Right, so we have limited time to get our act together and find out what it's gonna cost and whether it's worth it.
You have anything? Jim? I think that I have a similar concern that I think that you talked about, and that's just, Greg used the word first, or maybe Corey, being nimble. And I think that this sport's gonna have to be a little nimble because there's gonna be a lot of people coming at them. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a lot of different views from a lot of different places. And we all know that, and this is just fact, that there are different solutions for different parts of the county and different cities. And so I think that's where the nimbleness is gonna be absolutely necessary. And I appreciate you being there and doing the work, but also alluding to it a little bit when you're discussing it, so I appreciate that. Do you have anything, Corey, to add, or?
No, Counselor Blum covered it. I was looking for a specific email from Mickey Dirting, who's the Bend staff member who was staffing the emergency task force on houselessness last year, that I wouldn't say necessarily is what's kind of evolving into this joint office, but she then has been leading the effort of coordinating, nuts and bolts logistics of the joint office. And I have already over 100 emails back and forth with her over just the last few months. So to Councilor Blum's point, a lot of information sharing, which is good. Some of it is new information, some of it's stuff that we've been well aware of for several years and involved in, or otherwise. So we'll continue to share information accordingly. If you ever want more, reach out to myself, reach out to Councilor Blum, and we'll probably have an update for you, if not next month, certainly in August, as to the status. And then if there were any questions about the IGA, we're hoping to get approval tonight on that and have all the jurisdictions on board, but we can also talk about that during the regular session as well. So I'll defer in terms of how to use the next 7 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we have depending on Scott, I was thinking that because Scott's on the phone, if you'd like to do his staff report now, maybe that would be helpful. I don't know.
Staff comments?
Yeah.
My only concern is
Just take a break then.
not to say Scott's long-winded like Greg, but no, but maybe just take a break.
All right, we'll just adjourn the workshop and
Sorry,
start on time.
bad joke.
No, it's fine.
Help myself.
So I can crunch. When
I'm optimistic.
I don't know if anybody else would. Just one.
We are,
But hey, the rodeo was over, but there was nothing going on anyway. Okay. I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022, 6:30 PM City Council regular meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Roll call, Carrie?
Mayor Preden,
I am here.
Council President Conley,
Here.
Councilor Blum,
Here.
Councilor Lutz,
here,
Councilor Ross.
Present?
Everyone's here. Nice to see. Next item is approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
We have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. None opposed, thank you. We're right on to visitor communication.
So first, there was a written communication submitted in the packet that you all received, so I just want to get that for the record. I'm not going to read that into the record, but it was submitted. And then the first person up to speak is David Skidmore. You wanna-
David, welcome. There you go.
First time speaking at the council meeting, so I appreciate the opportunity to voice my perspective. I'm among a number of kind of tired and frustrated individuals that are picking up trash in and around Sisters. We dealt with probably 4 truckloads today, and there was more, probably at least multiple truckloads that left out needing to be dealt with that we just ran out of time on. I'd also want to make sure and highlight the generous availability of the Forest Service facilities to deal with some of this trash. It's been absolutely essential in dealing with this trash. Some of the trash is from careless residents, young kids, small bits of trash here and there, and that's true in every community. But a vast majority are from homeless, and specifically long-term, well-entrenched homeless. Some of the camps that are there for months to years generate their own garbage dumps, complete with windows and mattresses and all kinds of human waste, and just a huge variety of someone who does not deal with their trash responsibly. With regards to this topic, compassion and empathy is absolutely essential. I've been a healthcare provider for more than 25 years, was homeless for more than a year myself. I completely empathize and also believe, if the situation was different, that I could be out there living with myself. When I've inquired in the past for the community council members and maybe the mayor, it's always been referred as, oh, it's a Forest Service problem. But I think it's inaccurate at best to say that the trash in and around Sisters, as one drives down 20 into Sisters and sees the blown out RV that's now become a hazardous waste site that the animals and the weather is dispersing throughout the forest. Everybody driving down 20 sees that, and it reflects on Sisters. So it's not just simply a Forest Service issue. And so I guess I'd like to also highlight the 14-day camping limit is essential in dealing with this trash, because with less than 14 days, the accumulation of trash and the size of the trash tends to be significantly less than a month to 2 months to 5 months to years. And so I guess what I would like to, the gist of all of this is to request kind of support from the council, and even request that you use your influential voice with the Forest Service, with Ian, to help enforce and request enforcement of the 14-day camping limit, and as well as the dumping that occurs in the forest, because at that point it is dumping. People are just dumping in the forest. I guess that's about it. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Any questions on it?
Where did you pick up?
Today was off of Pine Street ×3 abandoned campsites, as well as we went out to across from Indian Ford Campground where we didn't have the capability of transporting that. There was also, Pine Street is obviously the most heavily impacted. And I understand it's been well treated to mitigate forest fire issues. It's easily accessible for fire as well as trash resolution. But the 14-day limit, again, if someone stays in one place for 3 months, a year, it just generates its own trash, And I've requested with the Houseless Network group coordinate some sort of trash management system where even if trash bags are easily accessible, I donate trash bags myself. If people can just collect their trash, put it on the road, drive by with the trailer and pick it up, that's fine. At least it's not blowing throughout the forest and ending up behind logs where there's just human waste is one issue, but you've also got the garbage. So, any other questions about?
Are you with a group or just
I mean,
Just
there is a group of us, but
Yeah.
we don't have a name.
Okay. just taking it on yourselves? Okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you very much. Is there other visitor communication?
Michael, please.
Hello, Michael.
Of course, we bring it back to 2 weeks could create kinks amongst the campers, because that's not necessarily the best thing else. And yeah, so the sheriff deputy never got back to me, and I've been trying to get hold of him, so nothing happens as usual. So here I am again, including I still want. You are not human to me, so in ethical response, you must know I am not human to you. Your form of humanity is not just different than mine, it's opposite, destructive, and cannibalistic. And from all my experience and awareness, so hypocritical, the word and concept now means nothing. So spoiled, it too means nothing. And with such an artificial, superficial at best, dynamic of conscience or soul, which you can perform or act out very well, events will still happen. You find tragic, while your minute-to-minute behavior and type of humanity, to me, is the true tragic and ugliness, and the true evil, always sowing byproducts. That event, which happened a few weeks ago, east of town, I mentioned as a side topic to someone a few days ago who once worked here, now living in the valley, and now I'm rarely able to speak to. She, from inside her bones, understands how the collective unconscious, subconscious aura can take over someone, particularly in this disconnect society, young people being most susceptible, drive them to act, including acts like canceling themselves and or others, which, unlike myself, who owns the shadow, which means being fully engaged with it at times, also being fully developed on who, what, and why, and the situations up to where I am. To notice, she, the person I talk to, is also affected by what is happening to me right now, which includes your continual placid, stagnant unresponsiveness. If you felt 1% of what she feels and were anything like I, you would have immediately contacted that neighbor and saw that association with I is ended correctly, not just leaving me again an unspoken for psychological rator, not by choice. Do you care? Yes, as a parasite, with the type of care, compassion, concern, etc. that should be nuked off the face of this planet. And yes, infants, this sort of social normalized dynamic I'm speaking of amongst others, can cause blowback on much smaller scales than nukes. And it does all the time. I think you know what I'm talking about. It's happening all the time. Yes, I'm very aware what the foundational evil is, because I'm not it, you are. There was a woman a bit my senior who I sometimes spoke to before passing on a decade ago. It's true, she was not highly educated, so it was obvious to her polar nor society's immaturity. What you and your diaper frontal lobe professionals have heard from me, she also heard and recognized it coming from maturity. Continuing with her, outside the secular world, she also witnessed Christianity and the people's ways, including praying, noticing it can be very frightening and destructive, so she had zero to do with it the last part of her life and put up a protective shield. And people's secular religious compassion, concept of neighbor and community, etc., and the way it's artificial to me, she completely understood. Herself not finding anything about this a real community, while she rented a room, her husband having passed, holding on to as much dignity as she could. The fact, she having worked with youngsters in their late teens and younger 20s to help put on track a way of existing in the society at J Bar J in Bend for almost 20 years should mean something on her take on me and society. I am waiting. Anyone, you can get my number from the mayor or the city manager.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any other visitor communication?
There's not.
All right. Need a motion on the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay. Looks like we're on to council business. The first one is Resolution 2022-14 Charter Amendments. I'm going to open the public hearing. Looks like we have a staff report from Carrie.
So this is the resolution that refers the charter amendments to the ballot. We reviewed this about a month ago at the council workshop, and there have been no changes since that point, and I just want to open up for any further questions.
Do we do them now or do we do them after public comment?
Maybe after public comment.
Yeah. Let's find out if we have any public comment on this issue.
If there's anybody on Zoom, I'm going to call you by name if you'd like to have public comment. Mandy Seeley?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you much. I'm going to close the public portion of the hearing. Now it's time for council discussions and questions if you have any. None from Gary.
Read it over again today, no?
Anybody?
I spoke to Corey today about the potential of whether or not the community will look upon a change in their city constitution as something that they would like to have an open house or some availability to come in and have somebody talk about what the issues are. Since the issues are on the mundane side, in many respects, I don't know that anything in these changes rises to the level that would produce any turnout. So I don't want to have a lot of attention and time put into something that is not needed, but what do y'all think?
Just a quick thought when you mentioned it. I suspect that if we do something like that, the time to do it is after the ballot measure has been formulated and put into the voters pamphlet, et cetera. that there may be an opportunity to have a question and answer session or something. It's a good thought. These are relatively clerical, mundane language clearing up issues. But it's also important that the public know that's exactly what it is and not something more nefarious.
Yeah, I think there's, the one in there about removing the annexation going to vote, which I think, our understanding is that it's pretty mundane and it shouldn't be in there, and that we understand the legal side of it, but that I think, or it's not in that one?
It's
No.
it's not in
Okay.
there, no.
Okay.
Sorry, I got ahead
It's okay.
of myself. There was something in there, though, that seemed a little,
That we can't provide services outside the city
That was
without
it.
their
Yeah.
permission? That one?
That was
yeah,
it.
that's what I meant. Anything that's perceived as, a
Taking away their
taking away their right
rights.
to vote or on something, even though could get some pushback on that. That's me stretching, but that it might be worth following up on, this idea of at least having some sort of open house about it.
Based upon what Gary suggested, what timeline would that be? August, September? When do the books go out?
Books probably will not go out till October
October?
at the earliest. There are some parameters as far as what staff can and can't do, even though this is not a tax measure. There are still parameters. We can give information, but we cannot advocate. And we can't even set up anything that advocates for. So as an example, when you talked about prior writing a commentary for yes on this measure, I could not put that on our website because that is advocating for the measure. So there's some parameters that we're held to. We could do it, absolutely do information, but we couldn't do anything that had anything to do with kind of pushing a yes vote or pushing the vote on it.
It may be that my time frame's off. I agree with you, Carrie. I'm very aware of that. It really, if there's going to be any discussion that might even lean towards advocacy or even explanation, which could appear like advocacy, it's going to have to come from the five of us and not from staff. And so that may be more appropriately done with an article in the Nugget or somewhere along that line prior to or right around the time that the voters pamphlet hits the streets. But you're right, I'd forgotten that little factoid, which I'm very familiar with, having run some bond campaigns. So, it's interesting to see. Maybe we just need to see too what kind of level of uncomfortableness in the community arises, if any.
Yeah, so a couple things. There is some additional information that we can continue to provide. We talked about that at the last workshop. We can do that strategically between now and November. And then the other part, which I don't want to seem either cavalier or too, lackadaisical, but, thankfully, these charter amendments aren't, super high stakes, super time sensitive kind of things. I'm glad, it's good we're doing some of the cleanup, et cetera, but I think that kind of letting this process play out and obviously shaping it and doing what we can accordingly is good, but kind of exercising that muscle and just sort of seeing how the constituency, the electorate reacts. And again, obviously we want them to understand what they're voting on, which I think they will. I'm confident in that. And I think at that point, you see what happens. So again, I'm not trying to be kind of too relaxed about it, but I think that some targeted education, and other than that, you let it be.
So just to let you know that we spoke at the workshop about wanting a page up on the website. That page is ready to go and will get launched tomorrow morning based on the vote on the resolution. There's also a print version that's going to be available at City Hall that we'll have at the front desk and out, and I will email you guys the link tomorrow when that goes live. But that has already been built and is set to go. And that is all informational. And then if we can add any informational pieces that you would like.
Yeah, as long as, I think most people's questions, you could say, well, refer to such and such, and they could look it up, and then if you have any further questions, you know, come and contact me. I'm hoping that that's all that's necessary.
And they can also reach out to staff members for information. So like the explanations and information, and even the process of how we got here. That was absolutely within our world of being able to answer.
How big is that informational piece? Is it a full page, a quarter page?
It's a 2-page,
Oof.
but it's not.
Graphics.
Yeah, it's graphics, and
Not
I did some more
legalese?
charts.
Not legally.
Good arrow.
No, it's not at all legalese. It's the caption, the title, and then a brief explanation. A lot of what you've seen in your staff reports,
Okay.
with the online version links to the original charter and the red line charter, so they can get to what they'd like to.
Yeah, I want to say one piece of not very surprising information. I haven't had one person ask me about these changes.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know
But-
anybody that knows we're doing it.
Well, there are people that watch the city, you know that.
Mhm.
If we were doing something controversial, the room would be filled. So, again, I'm not, you know, it's important what we're doing, but I kind of am with Corey. I'm like, let's take it one step at a time, and you know, people are going to see and hear more about it now for sure. But I am fairly confident that the little pieces that we're doing, where Corey doesn't have to be the city recorder anymore and stuff like that, is pretty non-controversial. That's just my take. I'm not trying to put words in your guys' mouth. That's just me.
We'll have to see if someone asks if his salary gets reduced since he's no longer city recorder.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't doing it anyway,
I don't-
although
Yeah.
he was doing it at Pitco for a couple of years. So, but anyway, any other topics of discussion or questions for Carrie?
It looks good.
Okay, great. Sounds like we need a motion of some type.
I move to approve and adopt resolution 2022-14.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Is it a regular vote, Carrie?
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Sounds like we got it. One down, 47 to go. Council business, item B. And I'm reading from the guidelines and motions, the resolution 2022-15 master fee schedule should be mastered
Oh, is it Masseter?
on the guidelines and motions only. So, sorry, that's just
Easter
me.
egg. I've learned from you
Oh,
how to put those in.
yeah, and I also want to point out something that I'm really embarrassed about when I was reviewing this just tonight. So, just as a side note.
Let me open the public hearing first, please.
Yeah, please do that.
I open the public hearing on this issue. Alice, staff report, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no,
I think it was my
my fault. As an Excel person, I love Excel. Most of us Excel folks love formatting, correct formatting. This is a Word document, which is sometimes my nemesis. And this formatting here, where it says action requested, is all off. So I apologize for that. That just is really bothering me most of the night. So this is the first of two resolutions that we have. These are pretty common as we get to the year end here. The first one's master fee schedule update. The second one is the supplemental budget. And to go through the first item here for the master fee schedule update is the overnight park. Excuse me. And that's regarding the senior discount with overnight park. For the past, I don't know, probably 3 years or so, we've received quite a bit of feedback, mostly from our camp hosts, about the challenge in enforcing this senior discount. Not enforcing, but checking in on it. They see people that have that certain discount at a certain site, they look at the reasonableness test for that individual camper, and there's been some uncomfortable conversations that they've had to have. And so they've told us about that, and so we've recommended getting rid of the senior discount for the dry hookup sites and the 30 and the 50 amp sites. Another reason for that is the popularity of our website makes it a lot easier just to check that box for senior discount, whereas if you're calling and making reservations, you maybe would be a little more cautious in how you posted that. So needless to say, there's a little bit more of an abuse for that rate. So staff is recommending we remove that rate starting July 1. That does not mean that the people that did their reservations back in January won't have to pay anything additional. It just, any new reservations starting July 1 will have to, won't have that ability to utilize that discount. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
We'll do it after the public discussion,
Oh, okay.
after the public comments, sorry.
Oh, yes. So I'll go through these then.
Yes, thank you.
The second, we have two items in the utility rates. The first one that you're used to is the 2% increase in the water rates. And that's something that was recommended based on our rate study several years ago. So we've continued to do that from year to year. And then the second thing is, as staff, evaluates the fee schedule regularly, we realized that kind of our fees that we're charging for reconnections are quite low. They haven't changed since at least I've been here. So we're realigning those fees based on current compensation conditions. In addition to that, if a public works employee that is on call has to come back and reconnect, that is a 2-hour minimum. So that also, and it's an overtime, obviously. So that's an additional incurred cost to us. So that's the utility rates. And then lastly is the SDC rates. Like we did last year, we evaluate the engineering index and we adjust the rates in accordance with the inflationary index for that study, that report. As you can see here, it was 8.47%. Paul and I strategized together thinking that was quite high. And to enact that as a July 1 adjustment is quite impactful for anybody who's planning on building a home, developers, things like that. And so we went ahead and went a little bit higher than the average there at 5%. And some other communities in the region have also done the same thing. So we're quite comfortable with the 5%. We're obviously going to be doing, master plans for water sewer. So we'll have new SDC rates anyway. And I believe that's it for all of the master fee schedule report.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to ask if there's any public comment.
Mandy, did you have any public comment?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now I'll close the public portion of the hearing. Now we can have council discussion and questions. Hit them up.
I have no problem with the discount disappearing. You've disappointed me with the disappearance as a senior, but I have no problems with this. I'm not staying in there. No, I think the only way you really can solve that problem, and it's probably more work than you want to do, would be to require them to enter their senior pass number, which is issued by the government to get you the discount on the Forest Service campgrounds and the national parks. And that would be a nightmare to kind of try to modify the city website to handle it. That's the only way I could see to take the onus off the staff's back. And I think that if you may get some pushback, but I don't think you're going to get an awful lot. It'll be from longtime people who come here more than anything else.
Sure.
So,
Jennifer?
So if we eliminate this, saying possibly a $15,000 increase in park user fees, what would happen if we gave the discount to everybody? If we dropped it down to, $5.
Oh, just dropped it $5?
Across the board, out of curiosity, just because it's.
Well, it would probably be about double that.
So like a loss of.
It'd be a loss of $30,000.
$30,000.
Yeah.
And transient lodging tax, which
Yep.
is a
Yep.
percentage of that.
Yeah.
And didn't we just raise the fees?
We did in January, yes.
Yeah. And how much? So what were they before and what are they now?
So with state and lodging tax, I'm sorry if I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I believe it's, for like a 30 amp or like a $50 goes down to 45, and then it's almost at $50, give or take, with the local and state lodging tax.
And it was before, how much?
And then it would be $5 more. So you're.
No, I meant before January 1st.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What did it used to be?
It was $5 different.
Okay, so
Yep.
we would be
Back to last year's
undoing
rates.
the increase that we approved January 1st and put it back to where it was before if we gave everybody the $5 discount.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we, this is just background stuff, obviously, but what did you base these rates on? Like market-wise or comparable
Yeah, it's a great question.
facilities?
Yep, we look at some of the local rates and some of the local amenities, and kind of compare and see how our rate structure is different from theirs. And there's obviously a lot of different things going on. You have, seasonal prices in a lot of areas, and Sisters Garden RV is a great example, or you have event, prices that are different. So there's a lot of dynamics in their rate structure that we don't have. But all in all, this is, I think, about $10 less a night than that facility.
Well, and I would say, as a person who spends a lot of time traveling around the nation hitting spots like this, we're probably a little bit higher than a lot of the city ones that I've been in, but I will tell you they are not as good facility as the city one we have here, which I think rivals some of the privately held campgrounds that can be that much, or even $10 to $15 a night more. So it seems high, but it is not unreasonable when you look at what is being charged around the area. And so again, as a person who makes use of facilities like this, I don't feel that it's out of line. I think we are a little bit at, like I said, at the higher end of city campgrounds. But like I said, I've been in some city campgrounds where basically it was a wide spot in the dirt and you backed up and maybe there was a plug that worked and maybe there was a plug that didn't work. So 20 amp. So I think that I'm comfortable with where it is. And I'm not in favor of lowering the price because of the things that the campground supports, that all of our community enjoys. It's a small piece of our town that supports a large part of our town. That's how I look at it.
Just wait until we bring you the dynamic surge pricing model.
And there's a lot of other factors.
$300 a night at rodeo. Yeah, okay.
We had quite, as you know, we had a challenge with camp hosts, and one of those challenges is some of the more qualified and more seasoned camp hosts they're getting a little bit better bang for their buck in other locations.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to sit down here in October and see if we need to kind of adjust their compensation a little bit, and so there's a lot of different factors there.
I honestly think that the most important thing you said was right at the very beginning about just taking a little burden off our camp hosts so they don't have to be checking people and things like that. And I'm perfectly fine with removing it, even though I'm almost a senior myself. But honestly, I think that that's the most important piece. We want to attract the best camp hosts we have, and just taking that little burden off is an easy thing to do, I believe. So,
agreed.
That's just me.
It's amazing for $5 that people would try and, I'm old enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's surprising.
Do we charge for showers because it's basically a public restroom?
Yep.
Okay.
Gotta clean them, gotta heat them, gotta maintain them, have to take the coins out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and
I just, when you go to, I was just at a state park this weekend, so the showers are free, but, it's more of a isolated situation, so,
Yep.
but I know you can park at Creekside and walk across and use the shower if you want. There's nobody.
That's a good point. It does moderate the time that they're in there as well. So, if we had unlimited time here, I'm sure the hot water would be gone, within the first hour that they were open. They're electric, so they have a hard time recharging. So it'd probably be quite a ways after, and we'd get a lot of complaints, I'm sure, about that.
Any further discussion? We can entertain a motion probably at this point.
I move to approve and adopt Resolution 2022-15.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No. Passes. Item C, Resolution 2022-16, supplemental budget. I'm going to open the public hearing. Staff report, Joe.
Okay, thank you. So we only have one item in the supplemental budget for June, which is great. And that item, as it was last year, is regarding water meters and parts. Now, backtracking to last year, there's obviously supply chain issues that we're concerned with. There's also a high demand for water meters. We've tried to stay ahead of that. That was a reason why we had that supplemental budget last year, and that's the same reason we had it this year. And if you look at actually the budget line item for revenue and water meters, it did pay off last year. We did actually sell quite a bit of water meters. So kudos to Public Works staff for staying ahead of that. And we're trying to do that same thing. So we're trying not to be in the position where we can't get meters for houses that are being constructed. But with that is just a little bit more ordering and more money than we budgeted. So we adjusted that a little bit for 22, 23, but we're just seeing a little bit of that impact in 21, 22. And then one more thing, sorry, is the street overlay. So if you'll remember, we awarded a contract for to Knife River for, I believe it was $305,000. It could be wrong. We budgeted $230,000. That was going to be the other component of our supplemental budget. Just due to the wet spring, that Knife River schedule has been pushed back quite a ways. And so we probably won't see that overlay until 22, 23. So we'll likely come back with the supplemental budget for you all pretty soon in the next fiscal year here for that.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on this issue?
Mandy Seeley, did you have any public comment?
No, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, I'll close the public hearing. It's time for council discussion. Any questions or comments about that?
No, the other thing I would say is that Paul's staff does a great job of reconditioning meters as well. A lot of places don't do that. So this number is probably lower than it would be if we didn't have the work going on out at the Public Works facility building.
Agreed.
Okay, any other comments or discussion? I don't have anything either. Maybe a motion?
I move to approve resolutions 2022-16 supplemental budget.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you. All right, next up is item D, the chamber agreement. God bless you. Corey, you spearheading this one?
Yeah, so you've got a couple page second and final extension to the agreement to provide tourism-related services that the city has in place for this current fiscal year with the Sisters Area Chamber of Commerce. And we talked about this at length in the spring, and you all ultimately gave a head nod to these terms and conditions as it relates to extending that contract for 4 additional months through October 31st, 2022, as well as the amount, which is the proration of a $200,000 annual contract and extending that monthly installments through that October 31st date. There's also some language in there as it relates to just ensuring communication and coordination with the transition with the new organization, and allowing those organizations to share information and plan for that transition heading into fall. And the city to some extent will be involved. So yeah, 2-page agreement. If you have any questions, happy to answer those, but ultimately get that approved tonight to keep the payment for next month and beyond through October going.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments? The chamber's here to answer questions too, I think, possibly, if that's okay. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
In the last meeting, I had mentioned if you had the ability to make sure that all the lodging providers were on the website, and I checked it today, and I was still seeing some that were missing. So is that something that can be remedied soon?
Yes, it can be, and we're checking with those lodging providers because we can't put anybody on the website without their permission. And actually, some businesses don't want to be on the website for just different reasons. If they're too busy and they're slammed and they have too many customers, like the hairdressers, say, we love the chamber, but we can't be on your website because we don't need any more customers. So we have to get permission from them before we do. And so we'll double check with them and make sure it's okay if they're fine with that. So
Okay.
that's what we're waiting for. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Good position to be in. No, I don't need any more business.
Yeah. Slammed if they're on our website.
As well, I think, part of keeping this contract extension as streamlined as possible is, the acknowledgement, and we heard this at the last discussion with council when the chamber was here, that, ongoing conversations around, event promotion and website and transition, that, they're a willing and able partner to continue those conversations, that it didn't need to necessarily be memorialized in this contract. So just a little bit of context too on that.
So if you don't see them on the website, it's because they either didn't respond or they said no. Just so you're aware.
Okay, thank you. You got anything?
No.
Andrea, do you have anything? Okay.
I move to approve an agreement between the City of Sisters and the Sisters Area Chamber of Commerce to provide tourism-related services through October 31st, 2022, subject to minor legal revisions, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes.
Sorry, it was daydreaming, that was an I, but it didn't come out. It was the silent
I
I.
think we got it.
You read your mind.
Lazy eye.
You should have seen the look I was getting from the council president.
All right. Next item up is the Explore Sisters organizational documents. The staff report. Corey.
Nothing necessarily to add beyond what we discussed in the workshop. If Councilor Conley or Carrie, or if there's any questions, again, we can obviously talk about those further at this time, but sort of laid out timeline, laid out process, laid out next steps. So again, if there's questions or comments, please share them.
Can we read the whole thing can you read the whole thing for us? Just kidding. Just kidding.
I bet he could.
You probably could.
He run
He probably sees it when he closes his eyes at night. I think this is an excellent document. I read it through more than once. It's unusual for me. And I think that and you heard from the folks who were here earlier tonight during the workshop, I think we're looking at something that should move us forward and build upon the great work that's been done by the chamber. And I'm all for it.
Thanks for stealing my thunder.
Sorry, man.
That's okay. Anybody else have anything? I will say, echo that, and it's a change, but it's nothing bad. So it's gonna be great. And I fully expect you guys, you and whoever coming in, I'm sure it's gonna be great. I fully expect it to be a coalescing moment. And this is just the bridge from one to another today. So thank you all. Thank you. We can probably entertain a motion.
I move to approve the organizational documents for Explore Sisters, subject to legal refinements.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It's heard 5, so we're good. Thank you. Item F, Coordinated Office on Houselessness IGA. We have a staff report, and it's going to be Andrea. No, it's Corey.
So same song, little different dance in terms of covered this in the workshop. If there's any questions about the IGA, let me know. We did add in the subject to legal revisions. If there were any changes that maybe City of La Pine or otherwise, I believe they're discussing it tonight as well. But it's made its way through, county legal sufficiency, city of Bend legal sufficiency. It's good to go. And again, from our perspective, don't see anything that would, raise an eyebrow, so to speak. There was some discussion in formulating the IGA and again, sort of streamlining it to only in its essence parallel what the House bill requires. So these other conversations about membership of the joint office, potential financial contribution, tiering, et cetera, none of that needs to be in the IGA and really shouldn't be in the IGA because those are topics and decisions that are, we're not at a point to make. That can come later with board discussions or amendments to the IGA as necessary, but to formalize the board and get the executive director going and meet the basic requirements of the House bill, this IGA definitely accomplishes that. So was there anything that stuck out or raised questions or comments?
Well, I just wanted to start the discussion. Thank you, Corey. Is to my right is Councilor Wong, which has been involved in this process. But I'm going to look at it from two angles with you.
Mm-hmm.
One is your historic attention to detail. Did you find any Easter eggs in there or anything like that?
No. No.
Second, you've been involved in this process. You're feeling good about it. I want to hear it from you because you've been in it from meeting number one, which was recent.
This is a very succinct starting point. It doesn't have a lot of the other stuff that still has to be decided and considered. And that's a good thing because in the form that it was before, it was kind of hard to just say, well, I'm sure that maybe that'll be where we end up, but I don't know. So this is a trimming down to the essence. And I think that's where we need to begin. There was a lot of work that was done ahead of time by a lot of people and with the county and the city of Bend. And we couldn't move as fast as we're moving if it hadn't been for that. But at the same time, we have to start from the same beginning point and move forward. We can't just say, okay, well, let's accept everything that everybody's already decided is a good thing. We need to look at it and make sure we all agree that it's a good thing. So this is fine. This is a good starting point.
Okay. That's all I had. Anybody else got anything? Let's get her done. Need a motion, I guess?
I move to approve an intergovernmental agreement for the City-County Coordinated Office on Houselessness, subject to minor legal revisions, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And if
Say aye.
anybody can come up with a decent name,
Besides a joint commission?
because there are so many organizations that are similarly named. And so I'd like to go completely off from the idea of acronyms, because I've played with the letters and none of them are jazzy for sure. So if you can think of a good one, let me know.
Okay, well, I guess my question would be then, would the other partners involved, are they all feel the same way? They're looking for a good name still?
That has not been discussed,
Okay.
what we should be called. So that is something that I'm gonna bring up at their first board meeting. Because I don't want to go, the coordinated organization of the pilot. for the-
CC062222ws.
Yeah, no,
I agree.
yeah,
So we just call it like Barbara.
yeah,
Give it a person's name.
yeah.
Okay. All right, on to other business. The first thing on other business is something that I'm doing, I guess, is appointment of 5 voting members to the initial board for Explore Sisters. I'm going to be making some appointments, but there is time for a little bit of council discussion. And I'm going to let Nancy start because this is your football.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks. The 4 other people besides myself, as Krista Monroe stated, have been here a long time, who value the livability, but also the natural beauty and the business model that their businesses are structured upon, tourism visitors. And so I think there'll be a good mix of compassion when decisions are made about business versus their hometown and the effects of tourism on their hometown. And I'm excited for the work that will be done and the long-term planning that will occur. I think there's a whole slew of new and exciting opportunities that haven't been considered or addressed before, and new partnerships. And so I'm really looking forward to the term that I'm on this committee.
If you're appointed.
Oh, if I'm appointed, yes, I'm so sorry.
I do have a question about some of the names on the list.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah, and the little bios that were put together, give you a good understanding of their values and where they come from and their views on life in Sisters and life in general. So I think it's
That was much
exceptional.
appreciated.
It
Yeah.
was.
Was that given to the press? I was just wondering.
No, it's in draft format, so I just came to you guys this morning.
Okay, thank you. Just
I'm
checking.
working on that still, yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be, again, this is the tip of the iceberg as it
I know.
relates to communication, education, et cetera.
I wasn't trying to be inflammatory.
No, you're good.
So, any other discussion, any griller, come on, here's your chance.
So are you on there as a representative of the city council or as an individual in Sisters?
That's what I was.
Well, I'm all of the above. How the bylaws are set up is that there's a 1 year, one counselor appointment to the GMO. And so in January, after, the new year starts and swearing in, it'll be one of those committee appointments. And so the city council rep, as it sits right now, is one of 5 votes. If that board, when they're up and running and become a legal nonprofit, they could have up to 9 people on the board, it'd still be 1 vote. So yes, I'm serving as a voting member of council, but also representing the livability piece, because that's what we do as council, is represent the whole community at large, not just the business entity or the tourism entity. And so it's the livability piece is what I would probably address the position as.
Great question, because that was my question.
Mhm.
So I think it's important to just put it out that
Yeah.
it's in the public record now, so no, nothing weird. Any other discussion?
Just, in your next meeting, just tell them, thank you for all the work that they're putting in.
Yeah.
These are all very busy people. So
Yeah, they
I
are.
appreciate it.
They are.
Once again, it really makes a difference who the executive director is,
Well,
finding the right fit for Sisters.
And the
are you volunteering?
committee understands that. They really understand the importance of that. And they're willing to spend money on getting the right person here. Money that they don't have yet.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? I'm super excited and I'm very proud to read these names off. I appoint the following people to the Explore Sisters Board of Directors: Greg Willits to a 3-year term, Casey Might and Krista Monroe to 2-year terms, Jesse Durham and Nancy Conley to 1-year terms. Thank you all very much. I think that's cool.
How do you pronounce Casey's last name?
Might, M-I-T-E, is how it's phonetically said.
A good German name.
Boy, I would have massacred that one.
I asked.
Yes, I have too.
Not
I
person.
asked him.
I asked her because I knew she would know. So
Mhm.
M-E-U,
M-I-T-E.
yeah,
No,
it's M-E-U-D-T. And it's pronounced might.
as in something that gets under your skin and bites you.
Or something that's strong
Okay.
and purposeful
Yeah.
moving forward.
Okay.
Emma.
He gave the bug analogy, sorry.
I would just call him Mighty Might myself, but
Yeah.
that's okay. We're on to staff comments. Scott, you're on the line?
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone.
I tried to get you earlier, but they wouldn't let me.
Well, and I kind of felt challenged. I want to be as long-winded as Greg, so I've been working on my comments since then. No, just kidding.
He said it himself, so.
Lot of stuff going on. Thank you very much for your participation in the joint meeting last week with the Planning Commission. Hope you found it informative. We got some good feedback from all of you, and we'll continue to work on those issues through the Planning Commission into the fall, and we'll keep you updated at these work sessions, and hopefully bring it back to you sometime early or sometime in November, December, hopefully, for formal adoption. If you do have any questions or comments that you want to share that you thought of after the meeting, go ahead and feel free to share those with me, if you will.
Did you get any sweet Excel files in email from any council members?
I think I did. Yeah.
That was
At least two of them. I'm a planner. I don't know how to read those, so I'll have to ask Joe. But yeah, so other big things going on. The Parks Master Plan is starting to kick into high gear. We had a management team meeting with the consultants this morning. They've been busy with public events. You might have seen them at the farmers market a couple weeks ago. Their next one is Saturday at First Street Park with the concert that's going on. They're going to be there from about 5 to 7, trying to get people before they walk into the event, before they get into the music, trying to solicit some comments from them on the parks, direction of the parks. So if you want to pass the word about that, that would be great. They've included some stakeholder interviews that they've been doing over the last month, and then are working on focus groups. They're doing several focus groups interviews, one with the arts and culture group, seniors, group they're calling the Accessible Outdoor Recreation Group, and then the youth. So those are underway. They're also doing an inventory and a conditions assessment of our parks to kind of get an idea of where we are, so that they can provide some recommendations for where we need to be or where we want to be. And then they're going to hold their first meeting with the Parks Advisory Board on July 7th. And then we're also trying to get the council and the Planning Commission some updates on the Parks Master Plan, because since it will be an amendment to the comprehensive plan, they will need to go through the Planning Commission first for recommendation, and then the council will have to adopt the master plan. So we want to make sure that the first time you guys see it is not the night we're asking you to adopt it.
That would be nice.
We're busy that night anyway, so.
Some other things we're starting, we sent out some letters to the property owners in the Heavenly Acres subdivision. We're going to start working with them on an overdue project, which is rezoning them out of the urban area reserve designation that they have now into something that is more appropriate. That zone was intended to be a holding zone, temporary holding zone. And I think it's been over 20 years since those properties have been annexed. So we're going to start working with the property owners to rezone it to a proper zone district. Going to be working on lighting with the Planning Commission next month. Matt's busy with some big projects. The school is still going on, the review, and then the Sunset Meadows application that we just got on the Patterson property on 242. Emmy's busy holding down the fort with all the other inquiries that she gets, quite a few. And then Jacob is working to get out in the community. Some folks have started to get some letters. It's a little bit of an adjustment for some that they haven't seen these in the past. And they can sound a little bit harsh, but you know, the bottom line, and we kind of adjusted the letters, is just to make sure that they contact Jacob. We're more than willing to give people the time that they need to get things done, as long as they give us a call and work something out. So we're trying to do a sort of a soft opening, soft entrance for the code enforcement officer into the community, but also making sure that he does his job too. And then Carol's just doing holding down the fort as well. So those are some of the things that are going on. Any questions on any of that?
Anybody have any questions for Scott?
On the Heavenly Acres, have you heard anything from the property owners yet about any concerns about any zoning changes, or I can't think of anything that would possibly affect them one way or another, at least initially. So I'm just wondering if they had any feedback on that.
We've had a couple reach out just to want to schedule something just to talk a little bit more about what the implications of that are. I haven't heard any concerns yet. I think it's still in the education mode, trying to figure out what it's all about. It shouldn't. What we're tailoring it to be is to not impact what their current use is, but it'd be one of the zone districts that is more appropriate for inside the city.
Just for clarification, Sunset Meadows, is that strip north of 242 owned by Mr. Patterson?
Correct. Yeah, about a 12-acre parcel.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the hard work you're doing. Pretty meaty stuff there. Carrie, do you want to go next?
Sure, just a couple of things. Thank you for the work on the charter that you've done. It's great to see that move forward. And then also on the work with the DMO. That has been a long, fun, interesting ride that we're still on, but thank you for moving that forward tonight. Community grant applications open on July 1st. It'll have information in the nugget and the announcements, and it'll hit our website. It's actually live on the website right now, but we'll put out an announcement on the 29th. And as I spoke earlier, the charter page will be up on the website tomorrow morning or afternoon when I get there. And if you guys have comments or feedback on that, please do let me know. I will send you the link when it's live. Other than that, we are just moving a lot of things forward still.
For the community grants, do we send a letter to the prior recipients reminding them that they need to do a report?
So I sent an email to the prior recipients. I do it about 30 to 45 days before the end of the year, June 30th. And then I try to bring those together and send that out to council as a group of kind of their letters, what they've done. We have not received very many this year. So I don't know that we will actually get it as part of the grant process. I don't see a lot of follow-up on that this year. But they were sent reminders.
Thank you.
Is there anything else we can do to get the word out about the grant process in lieu of, some of the blowback we've gotten on some of the, the permit fees? And I know this was kind of one of our solutions for that. So is there anything else maybe we should be doing just to make sure that we're capturing everybody that?
I don't know, maybe if we say it for the 27th time, it might resonate. I'm not quite sure.
I think it would be difficult to just target individuals because then we may be perceived as, you didn't tell me as a nonprofit, or you didn't tell me as something. We do, it will go out as a community announcement. So that goes out to our, basically everybody who gets a city council agenda, anybody that's signed up, which is a fairly large group of people. Like I said, it's in the announcement, it should be in the announcement of the nuggets multiple times, not just at the beginning. And if I do send a press release to the nugget, oftentimes an article shows up. So I can do that as well.
Tomorrow. Add it to that list.
All right, any other questions about all of that? Thank you, Carrie. Paul, trying to mix up the order because just to be different.
Be unpredictable.
Right, well, that's always me, right?
I'll be very brief. You guys listened to me way too much last week. So just a quick update on our water and wastewater master plan. We took that to the Public Works Advisory Board last week, delivered them a full capital improvement plan recommendation with cost estimates, got some great feedback from them. So that will be coming your way, hopefully into July in a workshop form. We had a re-kickoff for the Locust US 20 roundabout project with ODOT, and I don't know, was there like 30 ODOT people there?
Whoa.
Was there cake or something?
I think literally 15, 21 on the invite or something. Yeah, so Obviously,
Donuts
they're all in as well.
Yeah,
so.
right, good.
Had some discussion around just funding strategy. How do we keep this thing moving as quickly as we possibly can with the funds that we have, which is essentially city and county funds, because the enhanced funds don't show up to be used until late fall 2023. So we got a lot of design work, we got a lot of right-of-way work that we want to get done before then. So we're still working with ODOT on that, on exactly how that's going to play out, but we definitely expressed a strong desire to keep this moving as quickly as possible and not let funding slow things down. So
That's why I left Joe after you, so we can hit him up.
Yeah.
yep. A couple other things. The weather came out this week, so splash pads on. Shade sales went up, getting ready for Folk Fest concert on Saturday night. So that's all I have.
Quick question, Paul. Can they initiate that work in the fall, or will they have to wait till the following spring when the funding comes in for the roundabout? So you think late 2023?
We're looking for that to be the construction funding.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So, but can they do that construction in the winter months? They have to wait until the warm weather?
We do not want to do it during warm weather.
I know.
No, we do it during the winter.
Okay,
That's when we built that.
that was the answer I wanted to hear, but I wasn't sure if we could.
No, you can't build in that kind of traffic.
No.
Impossible.
So, yeah, I'm getting a lot of questions, so I'm a little confused. Like, somebody's just saying, when are they gonna say, we start it, which I think in people's minds means like shovels in the ground and the physical things that they can see, like what is a guesstimate time I can tell people? Like,
Before construction starts,
or just when will construction start?
I would say
Roundabout, like fall,
2024, spring 2024.
spring 2024, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you probably won't really see anything happen. It'll all be behind the scenes leading up to that.
I think we should go out and paint some, just with marker paint.
Yeah.
Just put paint all over the place, make everybody excited.
We got to come up with, the ODOT typical 100-page plan set.
Yeah.
Spec book, 200 or 300 pages deep.
So are we in a position to start the improvements on the bypass that are needed for it to be a truck route?
We're in the position to start the design on the improvements, which you guys budgeted for this next year. And we'll get that work rolling quickly. And then construction funding, we're strategizing with, obviously we have a congressional ask in as well, and that's still active. If we are successful with that, we might be able to merge those two projects together.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
What's the construction window for the roundabout itself if it starts in the spring?
We typically start February and be done by Memorial Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Paul? Great job as always.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. All right, now, Joe, bring the money. How much cash do we have? Can we help out the roundabout situation?
We could, yeah. We've got a lot of development money still left to contribute to the project that they have not taken out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of availability there, and just a little bit.
Let's just not tell ODOT yet.
Right. Yeah. No, I think Paul keeps them up to date about that quite regularly. I'm sure they know what the balance of that account looks like. Gotcha. But as far as finance goes, we're just we're getting to the end of the fiscal year end here, so we're just trying to strategize how we're going to change allocations and update rates and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more work to that than it seems, but just working with the team to get that done. And let's see, the interim field work for audit will be a little later. They're going to do that actually in July, coincide with another city locally that they deal with. So a little later than usual for their interim work, but it'll come up quick.
Okay.
Quick question, as you move to your cloud-based accounting system, which I think we funded in next year's budget cycle, will the accounts payable ledger be a little bit easier to read when it shows up in the packet?
Yeah, that is a good.
For those of us with old eyes.
Yeah, that's backscan too. So I appreciate that feedback. We can print that electronically, so it's maybe a little easier to see. And if you need to zoom, you can see it even easier than that.
Part
I
of
know
it
that
is the dot matrix look.
the dot matrix, yeah, and
Yeah.
that accounting. So that version will probably not change. That's it's a big leap to the next version of that software, and it's quite expensive, and it's just more than we need.
Unless you like your dot matrix, that just makes you.
I know.
You just can't change the font.
We can. We'll work on that. We'll figure it out
Yeah.
for sure. But there's some exciting stuff. We've actually done a lot of webinars with new ways to manage utility payments and correspondence, and so for finance, it's actually we're pretty excited about what some of those things will do. So we're just, again, like we said in the budget process, trying to make everyone's life a little bit easier and more efficient.
Well, the only reason I ask is since we get electronically, it makes it hard. Even on my 34-inch screen upstairs, it's still a chore.
Yeah, squinting can only go so far too. So appreciate that though.
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. We'll see you next fiscal year.
Right? Yes.
And we got a month off almost.
Yeah. Okay, appreciate it.
Smiling.
And Corey's still smiling. What's up with that?
Yeah, still smiling.
Do you want to wait for Carrie to come back? Or?
I think we're good. So yeah, you did a nice job last evening thanking staff. I forgot to do that, so I'm gonna double down on all the work that we've been doing and gotten moved across certain thresholds tonight or updates on tonight. Just big kudos to staff for working on all these projects that, really we don't, we could just be doing day-to-day stuff, just kind of going through the motions and da-da-da, and it's not how we operate. I think you all known that for a long time. There's a sense to push the envelope in a productive, constructive way. There's a lot of passion, a lot of care that goes into the work they do for the city on behalf of the community. So even though we still get arrows from letters to the editor and community members, we feel really good about the work we're doing and the oversight and policy direction that you all are providing, and feel like the team effort and the results speak for themselves. So, we're not really looking for drama. We're not really looking for people who think they know what they're talking about. We do a good job of educating, and people know how to reach out to us as well anytime. And, we'll keep doing what we can on that front. So yeah, big thanks to staff there. You alluded to it, we'll be off council meetings for about 5 weeks. Still plan to talk to all of you either on a weekly basis or every other week. Several projects that, to some extent we had hoped to maybe have on the workshop tonight, the housing RFP in particular, that, want to keep refining that draft as we head towards the July 27th meeting and getting that ready to go out in August. So, still working on a variety of projects. Excited about where we're at. Excited to see town busy and events in full swing. A lot of energy out there, a lot of enthusiasm. So yeah, so if you have any questions or comments for me, feeling good about where we're at.
Do you want to make an official proclamation about the East Portal in a public setting, or?
I know, it's
Again?
one of those things.
No
that it's like,
confetti or anything.
no.
T-shirt
no.
cannon,
We need those.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think again, kind of like with the roundabout, right? It's like how much work went into that behind the scenes to get it to a point to where, like, when we start having this master plan process, there's site visit on Friday for staff and consultants. But working on that through this summer and into fall is when there's going to be a lot more public input, interface, reimagination of that space, so on and so forth. So, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I kind of thought about getting a tattoo, my first East Portal tattoo.
It's a big circle.
But
Oh,
kind of a triangle, but
you could
I'll
probably
probably sleep on that for a
You could
little
probably call
while.
the Forest Service up and see if they'll give you the sign they took down. You could hang it on the wall.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, it's happened. It was pretty anticlimactic. Joe was in the room, Carrie was in the room, escrow officer, and she's like, this is less paperwork than selling a residential house. So I don't know, it's half dozen.
Same price.
Yeah, yeah, a little more land. So yeah, half dozen signatures, and Forest Service was excited. We're excited.
Yeah, Ian mentioned it yesterday. That was
Yeah.
very notable, I thought, that he mentioned it as well. So
Yeah.
you mentioned it, and he mentioned it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, big step.
Yeah, I want to just give you and everybody, staff, Paul, just kudos for the roundabout. I tried to be as loud as possible, and I think it helped a little, I hope. And it was just keeping it on ODOT's mind the whole way through, not just from staff and people on the inside, but from the policy mouthy people on the outside too. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
For sure.
yeah.
And I did think of two more things.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So obviously we're going from, just naturally, right, 60 degrees and overcast with sprinkles to 92. So anyway, where I'm going with that is that the wildfire mitigation group that we've been pulling together of local, state, federal partners, we're meeting again for the second time next week. And, some of that strategy will be about aligning messaging and some updates as it relates to wildfire risk mapping through Senate Bill 762 will be coming out. So there's going to be some questions and, I wouldn't say concerns necessarily, potentially, but questions for sure around what does this mean and da-da-da. And so aligning with fire district, state fire marshal's office, ODF, et cetera, in the coming weeks will be important. So we're going to keep working on that project and that coordination efforts. Paul was, working with staff and some of the county inmate crews to help mitigate fuels, which was great, a little bit on East Portal as well as other locations, some right-of-ways, et cetera. And then also organizing a meeting with local agencies, fire district, school district, park district, library, Forest Service, city, to talk about smoke and cooling shelter space and getting some messaging out to the community about what those different agencies and facilities can offer. And we're having a coordination meeting on that next week. So hopefully something out in early July on that front. So anyway, that's all I had.
Anybody got anything? Thank you, Corey. Now it's up to us. Who wants to go first?
I've got a few things.
Okay.
A little bit, I'll build off what Scott mentioned. We did have our team meeting today for the Parks Master Plan. A couple of things that might be of interest to this group is that, first of all, SPRD just finished their needs assessment. They presented the results of that to their board of directors last night. And Jennifer has kindly forwarded the slide deck for the PowerPoint presentation to those of us. If anybody wants to see it, let me know. I have not had a chance to look at it. It arrived in my inbox at about 5:15, so I haven't looked at it yet, but it did come in. I think it'd just be interesting to see what they're saying. To highlight is just that lots of pickleball, pool, and the usual sorts of things, but as well as others. The other is that they have not done the youth interviews yet, and Jennifer has volunteered SPRD for their summer programs to get the youth there since they missed the school district opportunity. It'll be fun because they'll all be middle schoolers, so you never know what you're going to get. And I warned them of that, having spent a number of years at the middle school. And so those are kinds of things that are happening. There's a lot of motion going on related to the East Portal. They have been contacted by the group that we've hired to do the planning, the master planning for the East Portal. They will do the open space planning portion of that. The contract should be signed next week sometime, I think is what they were thinking, certainly before we meet again. So they will not only be working with our work for the Parks Master Plan, but they will be involved in that discussion as well. And they are doing some 10,000 foot elevation sort of things around the concept of a covered facility. And that was one of the things that came up in both the SPRD and the charrette design activity they had at the farmers market. pickleball. And so those are kind of the highlights there. And then the last thing, they are looking to try to do a joint meeting with us as a potential, and that's really up to Corey and others to coordinate it. They're talking sometime in September. They've got a date of September 7th, but I have no idea where that came from or if it's just sort of a placeholder. And then finally, the Regional Housing Council kickoff meeting, another one of those wonderful ones, is probably looking like late July. They sent out a doodle poll. And so when I was looking at the dates and people are looking at it, it looks like towards the very end of July are the most likely dates, Thursday, Friday, somewhere, and I'll keep you posted on that. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. I don't think they have any idea what we're going to talk about. And I know that several of the smaller communities have yet to appoint an individual to serve on this particular group. That's it.
And that's through COIC.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. You want to go?
Oh, I didn't have any meetings or anything, I think, the last 2 weeks, just looking over my calendar. But I did see that I was just curious, has anybody signed up for that small cities meeting in Madras on Friday? Anybody going to that, or?
I did not. I think I remember it sounding good the first time I read it, and then it went past me.
Yeah, okay, I thought about it too, and then I forgot about it. And
What if we all go?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I can't do that.
3 cars.
Have to ride separately and.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I guess the thing I want to say about that is I'd love to go to all those meetings, but I have a lot of meetings already, and so I'm out.
You have to pace yourself on what
Yeah, so
rises to the.
if somebody wants to go, I mean, I think that I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I'm not sure if it's necessary for us to be at every one of those meetings. I think we should go once in a while for sure, but I don't think we have a representation in that.
I'm gonna say, when Chuck was mayor and I went to the one in Redmond was probably the last one. That's been, what, 3 years?
Yeah, well, there was COVID, so I mean, it's not.
And did you
Sure.
go? No. Yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, so anyway.
I might take a look at it. I don't know if they already cut off participation or anything. I'll take a look at it tomorrow morning and see.
They would be happy to see you.
They would. It's one of those groups I'm not trying to sound proud or whatever. We're one of the bigger small cities, right? So I think that they get a lot from us, and probably not quite as much the other direction. I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I just think that size-wise, our issues are.
We're the big dog in that group.
Well, when we go to Bend for Bend meetings, that's,
Right.
you know what I mean? So I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but that's just kind of the reality. But maybe it'll become more important. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. If we don't show up, we don't know what's going on. So let me know if you go.
Okay.
All right.
I've already given my information. I'm done.
A little much. No, I'm just kidding. It's just a lot of stuff. How about you?
I've given mine also, but I will state now that probably every meeting I will be making a public comment about how the city is organized and managed, how council sets the goals that drive the city manager's job and all the workload for every department afterwards. And even though our minutes might not say every word uttered, they capture the essence of the work being done. And if people have concerns about the decision process, they should listen to workshops, attend workshops, come to the public meeting and make a public comment, walk into City Hall, ask someone whatever is bothering you, or pick up the phone and call a city councilor. We are all open and accessible to the public. Everything is transparent. we all work hard, and council sets the workload and the priorities that drive the city work by the city staff. And the city manager is the conduit for that. So, same song next month.
All right. You kind of teed me up a little bit because I wanted to point out, I'm not going to talk about meetings or anything like that. I wanted to point out and kind of summarize what we just did today. We had a resolution on the city charter. We had 2 resolutions that concerned the budget, master fee schedule and the supplemental budget, which was small this year. Thank you very much. That was kind of cool, but we still did it. We had an agreement with the chamber that we had to finish up, which led us to decision on the DMO, which is exciting and new and, different. And then we had another, IGA on houselessness. I mean, I know that we've had some people in the past come up to us here at this meeting and call us evil and some other things, but we're not. So don't take any of that. And to your point of some of the people maybe on Facebook or whatever, and some other people, other people commenting without really knowing what's going on, we shouldn't take too much out of that either. Honestly, it's hard, but we're up here doing it, and that's a lot of stuff. So that's why I thank staff, and I want to thank you guys too. I mean, we couldn't do it. It takes everybody here. And so just thank you all. Feel good about what we're doing. I think we're definitely in the right direction. Doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. Sometimes we do, but we're headed in the right direction. So thank you all, and I'm done.
And just a quick question, because I saw Michael's hand. Anybody else want that SPRD slide deck? I'm firing it out right now.
Why don't you look at that,